Hey everybody, and welcome back to Rugby Wrap Up. I'm Matt McCarthy at the Yogi Berra Baseball Museum in Montclair, New Jersey for part 2 of our Rugby Town Hall with USA Rugby CEO Dan Payne. Also with us, our former Director of Rugby for PRO Rugby, Steve Lewis, and USA Rugby and Penn State star Tess Feury. This is part 2.
To Dan and Tess, so both of you have experience of really high-level, the elite college programs in America. What differentiates Penn State and Life University from everybody else?
Full-time coaching staff, I think, is the first step. Having player-led coaching, which most club universities do, is just really not going to cut it to be able to have an elite level program. So I think that's definitely the first step to be able to have an established program. That really is what changed Penn State. When we had the university agreed to give us money for full-time coaches, that's what really made the ball turn for us. And there are no athletic scholarships at Penn State, and we've still managed to be able to have a successful program for the last 20 years. So we can give you money to travel. We have full-time coaches. Yeah, I definitely think the coaching is the first step that makes us stand out.
I would agree. I think university support, which leads to your daily training environment. Your daily training environment is dictated by the coach's standards and the investment that they put in. And I think when you have consistency, obviously full-time allows it to be consistency to a higher degree, but there's a lot of very successful programs out there that don't have a full-time coach, but they have a consistent coach that upholds a daily training environment and a standard of approach that allows the athletes to develop. That comes through resources provided by alumni, provided by the university itself. But to Tess's point, it's coaching and the leadership at the top that sets the environment for everything else. I shouldn't say it in this audience, but Belichick hasn't just stumbled into however many rings he has, right? Yeah, I'm just endorsing coaching, right?
David Tyree and Mario Manningham would have differing opinions of Bill Belichick.
Brady has something to do with it as well. Like he's so
2-0.
Yeah, go ahead.
So how do we get a University of Buffalo into the realm of a Life and a Penn State? Because you're a Western New York guy. That's upstate New York for the folks at home. Rochester, right, area, and yours truly went to the University of Buffalo, so that's where that plug's coming from.
I think I have an answer for that one.
What'd you say?
Warmer weather.
Well, that comes back to the seasonality point, right? You're going to play January through March?
You're a UB alum, you said, right? Yes. We need you to step up and be a full-time coach.
Or write a check. Exactly. So I'm
a little busy.
Do you guys have an organized alumni association?
Yes, we do, and it's on Twitter. In fact, we just launched our merchandise campaign for University of Buffalo Bulls.
Perfect. And you're organized?
ubrugby.com.
Perfect.
ubrugby.org.
There you go. Friday night. Here we go.
As a women's rugby player and supporter, I was very excited when you were named CEO because of your long history of supporting the women's game. I was very encouraged to recently see the USA Congress said they're going to add another $100,000 or more towards the women's World Cup team in Ireland. Yep. And I'm just wondering, that's a great announcement, but does that cover all of the costs? Big more than that.
So that's a great question, and it's important that everybody understands the kind of how that evolved. The extra $100,000 is to really, what we want to do is build a full month build up in July for the women to prepare and compete and go and train and get ready to go represent us at the World Cup. And that's kind of what that needed to take to happen. All the costs will be covered. You know, there will be a small subsidy if we hit all of the targets for the women. You know, there'll be a subsidy. There'll be, you know, all their costs to train for July build-up will be covered, and everything to go experience the World Cup will be covered. So, but that being said, we have a big opportunity on, especially with 15. Sevens, we get a lot of subsidy now through the USOC, and we got a lot of different grant money. For women's 15s, we don't get any World Rugby subsidization or grant money that we get through other sources, so we have to allocate it from other resources.
You mean like an Ireland versus USA match in June, so like that kind of subsidizing for men's? Because we don't really have those kind of international tests for the women on American soil yet.
Correct,
right?
but that will be that's where some of the licensing and revenue will come back that goes to the women, because we don't generate the revenue from large matches like that yet for the women, that we have to parcel out some of that to allocate towards their training.
Perhaps have a match on the same day?
Yeah. Well,
same venue?
And this is important to know. The hard thing with women's 15 scheduling is there is no set window. There's no competition window like there is for the men. So you're always trying to mix and match. They don't have, like the men's November tours, are all in a 3-week window, and then they're all in the June window. The women don't have that competitive window yet, so it's hard to align and match all of those games up. We had 2 other games tentatively scheduled for the women this summer, in addition to the Can-Am 2 games that we have coming up in the spring, and both teams weren't able to make it. So I mean, it's to me, rugby players are rugby players. It's hyphen whether it's male or female. We just have to do what we can within the resources we have.
Your predecessor was noticeably absent from some of the women's high-level matches, and I was wondering if you're planning to attend the Women's World Cup in Ireland this year.
I actually was just texting Pete Steinberg when I sent him a picture of Tess, and I'm going to San Diego when they play the Can-Am in 6 or 7 weeks. You going? You getting time off of school? Perfect, okay. And then yes, I'm going to be in Ireland as well, so in August, yeah. So we're rolling, right? Make sure. No. There's going to be an announcement. Have you booked your tickets yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's all right. Well, we have a tour sponsor and supporter that's going to come on board and help support our women's team in the build-up and in some of our training and things as we go abroad. I can't announce it yet because there's no signature. But for those people that are looking to book their tours and their accommodations and those sorts of things, we're going to have a partner that comes out and announces.
What's the name of the partner?
That's great journalism. Perfect.
Is it a fruit company?
Okay, yes, sir.
I have a question about kind of the NCAA thing for college rugby.
Yep.
What are your thoughts about balancing 15s and 7s?
What's an asset for the women is what is hard to navigate for the men's side, right? We've found that with 15s, especially a lot of the NCAA universities that are trying to fulfill roster sizes, 15s makes a lot of sense when you can add 30 or 40 women athletes into your athletic department. It's harder, especially if you're a school. Penn State has no shortage of male athletes, right? So especially with a football program and things like that. So we've got to find a way to navigate that and approach it. Athletic directors, especially at the college level, are looking at these numbers all of the time, right? And it's something that we'll fight on the men's side and that we'll have to find a way to solve. I think what we can push, though, is rather than always worried about the NCAA being what justifies it and legitimizes it, now we can talk about the Olympics, right? And there's a pathway there to be an Olympic sport, and that's something that you can talk about with high school athletic directors that makes sense, right? When we can start talking about Olympics attached to anything, it makes sense, right? So I think we just have to keep pushing it from that side. I think 7s and 15s, I will say that, in our country, as we build awareness for rugby, if we took a bronze medal in men's or women's rugby at the Olympics, 99% of Americans are going to think we're 3rd best in the world in rugby. Right? Like that's just from an awareness perspective, and to build that. So at jumping into mainstream legitimacy and exposure, 7s offers a huge opportunity. But at the same time, it's a smaller number of our overall participation. You know, the people that play 7s versus 15s, even just in our membership, is a much smaller number. It's obviously a much different game. So we'll obviously have to continue to focus on both. But 7s is, you know, we're not beholden. The top 10, top 15, top 10 countries in the world, their unions are all set up around 15 success. That's what is their primary focal point. We've said here in America that 7s is an opportunity for us, right? And we can continue to try to build awareness with that. How we do it, and you know, it's still not monetizable. There's not a whole lot of money coming in on the commercial side of 7s, which we thought potentially might happen subsequent to the Olympics. You know, so that'll kind of help drive which way we go with that as well.
Yes, sir.
Dan, just a quick question. As a father and as a coach, what is USA Rugby thinking about when they're talking to high school players saying, you know what, you're going to spend a lot of time out of the classroom in order to go to these events? Is there any possibility or any thought that, you know what, we'll try to make it more in line with Christmas vacation or things like that along the way? Especially seniors, you're trying to graduate.
Yep.
It's concern.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that, again, the Las Vegas Invitational and those sorts of things spawn out of the event itself. You know, that kind of grew because that's the window. The Las Vegas Invitational will follow whenever the USA Sevens is. So, you know, for many years it was 3 weeks earlier. Now it's into March. That's tagged to that event. And I don't think, you know, we can never say, the hardest thing to answer your question is when you have to tell college and or high school kids to take 2 or 3 weeks off for some of the international competitions in the middle of spring. You know, I mean, university, we have a big problem at the university level because in the spring semester is when a lot of the U20 championships are played, you know, or those sorts of things. So I think we have to always put that back on the student, you know, and the student and the parents are the ones that have to make that decision. And if there's something that's going to negatively impact their studies, they've got to choose to do that prior to take part in the competition, you know. But I don't think a lot of the competitions we can't really hold them at different times than when we're, you know, stated that they have to occur.
Up top.
I'm talking about girls specifically. Why are the girls out of school 2 days this week, 3 or 4 days next week? The state law in New Jersey as to the fact that they can't miss more than 7 days of school for a semester class. You can't tell your daughter she's not going to high school American camp. That to them is the elite status. Nobody understands why I got to go to Las Vegas 7.
But those are 15, those are 2 separate codes, right? So that's what I mean, they're choosing to compete in 2 separate codes. And I can't speak for the high school All-American coaches because we have, you know, 20 different teams that choose different times because they have to look across 50 states, right, and try to figure out who would have the most time off of school this week, and that might impact negatively. It sounds like it does impact you guys quite negatively because you miss school.
As far as I know, 2 girls host high school American camps, West and East, and we guess that 75% of those girls play both 7s and 15s. I don't understand why they couldn't play a camp that we're paying for when we're paying another $1,000 to be in Vegas the following week.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I wouldn't have even known it if you guys didn't bring it up, so that's good value for me being here. You know, like I wouldn't have even known that that's something that our high school All-Americans 15s and 7s have to battle against for both of them. So that's the value for me to come and hear it from you.
Part of the struggle is have those 2 camps. It's a little bit pay to play, but they're also putting a lot of money into it as well. And they're trying to cast a wider net because more numbers in these camps.
Well, and a lot of it too is because there's a lot more high school girls playing that you can't do in just one camp anymore either. There's 3 times as many playing today as there were 4 even 5 years ago, so they're having to split it up and make it more regionalized. You know,
you're taking the college players, putting them out over Christmas holiday, which is fantastic for them because they're already off. Our high school players, that would be awesome for them because that's pretty much the time where everybody's off at that point.
Right.
So if you do an East Coast or West Coast, who cares? But why have one at this point and then 6 or 8 weeks later on have another one and all these kids have to be out of school for another 2 or 3 days?
And that happens in every sport, and it doesn't justify it, you know, like, and it's good to know, because I would have never known, you know, that there was that much class time going back to back.
So switching a little bit to the U20 high school American U23 teams, is there any trend towards having a West Coast team and an East Coast team, or is there any recognition that there's really a concentration towards the West Coast?
To be honest, I don't get, I mean, there's high school directors, and there's, I mean, I'm about 6 levels removed, and I'll go back on some of the stuff that I heard tonight without even knowing, like, there's some of it is, that's what's valuable for me for a lot of these things, is because I wouldn't have ever even been aware of it if people didn't bring it up, you know, from that perspective. But a lot of it's planning. And if I had those specific coaches here, a lot of them, they would give answers, you know. A lot of the coaches in here they don't usually just randomly pick something on a map without having some thought into it and how it's intertwined, you know, and I just can't pull out the logic they would have used. It would never be that they want kids to miss more class. Obviously, there's something in there that's hitting it from your perspective.
We've been good staying away from the elephant in the room, but I'll go to it.
If it's pro rugby, it's easier to answer than talking to parents about their kids. I'm not kidding you. That's the hardest thing to talk about. I can talk about pro rugby all day long.
Are we in a holding pattern for 14 months?
For pro rugby, you mean?
Yeah.
Pro rugby, Dan.
This ball's not in my court. We're in season 2, year 2. There should be, I'm expecting there to be a season, as I've been told there's going to be. So, you know, that's all that I can do. There's nothing that, you know, that says, I've been told repeatedly that there's going to be a season 2. You know, if there's not, then obviously there's things that we have to be concerned with. But we don't have a schedule yet. You know, I don't have any indication that I can give that says when the season will start. Maybe you do. I don't know.
If season 2 does not occur, does that terminate the agreement and allow?
Yeah, season 2 must occur.
Is there anybody in the room that worked for pro rugby? Anyone? Oh, Steve Lewis was the director of pro rugby that resigned. Steve?
No comment.
No comment.
Tess, why don't you swap out with Steve the last 5 minutes? That actually would be pretty enjoyable.
That would be.
Come on.
Steve in the Yogi Berra hot seat in Montclair, New Jersey.
Yeah, come on down. It's a town.
Come on down. Steve Lewis, as we're winding down with the 800-pound gorilla in the room.
This is great.
Steve?
Hey, you see how you bob and weave on those questions?
Yeah. Steve is from Scotland, by the way. Don't hold it against him. So was there a specific question, or?
So season 2 doesn't happen, what happens?
Well, there's certain things I can speak about, which I will, but I'm in litigation as well as USA Rugby and as a fully SIP'd paid member of USA Rugby. Now, I don't think a year 2 is going to happen. I don't think the particular organization hasn't signed any players. I don't think it's going to happen. They're perfectly in their legal right per the sanction to play this year. So I think that's obviously USA Rugby's position. They would like a second season. I think we would all like a second season. Personally, I doubt it's going to happen. So I think, in my personal opinion, we've kind of blown this year. But I feel there are numerous good actors and many people lined up to do this and perhaps do it better next year. So I think medium term positive, this year not so good.
The message from Pro Rugby, as per their Twitter and Facebook postings, is that there will be a Pro 2 in 2017. So it's a wait and see.
Considered 1 game, 2 games?
That's where it gets subjective, doesn't it? I think that's, you know, there's I personally, I would think season 1 would be a good template to say that's a realistic estimate or standard of expectation for a season. So for season 2, you would think that it would have to be somewhat comparable to season 1.
Again, it gets back to the actual sanction and the agreement, which is not really sort of within my purview to discuss. But as my understanding is, April 2018, and they have to complete a substantial portion of a season in 2017, however you define that.
It has to be a complete season, or what's defined as a substantially complete season for the agreement to carry on.
Gentleman behind Pat.
31 last team, they folded the San Francisco team, correct?
Yeah, I mean, officially, the San Francisco team was folded, so as of right now, I think there would be 4 teams. But we don't have a schedule, so I can't speak to what their plans are, because I haven't been made aware of them.
We're basically out of time.
We were going to take 5 or 10 minutes. There's, if you look at the Strat 2020 that we're speaking of for the strategic plan for USA Rugby, if you have it on your phone right now, you might be able to pull it up, and it'll be rugbystrategy.us, and that's our next 3 to 4 year plan to get us through to 2020. It encompasses how we're going to build youth, how we're going to tie in a major market approach. We have 6 major markets, from NorCal, SoCal, Dallas, Chicago, New England, and you'll be happy to know that the Northeast, right here from Mid-Atlantic up to Northern Jersey / New York City is one as well. And where you'll see that this coming spring is bringing Ireland to Red Bull Stadium. But it also goes into all the different priorities that we're going to place on the next 3 to 4 years as we try to grow the game. The big thing, and it goes back to the youth component, is we're in a growth phase, right? It's taken us almost 40 years to get to 120,000 members. Right? Since 1975, when the union was founded, we have 120,000 members today. By 2020, we want to have 150,000. Right, so 25% growth over the next 4 years, hopefully. The largest area that we're going to grow that is going to become in the 5 to 13-year-old category. We know that's our smallest right now, so there's a lot of low-hanging fruit there to start the community-based leagues and the flag leagues and all these things that we can do and continue to build from. But if you go in there, there's some interesting opportunities. We've partnered with a rugby executive group that's a forum that's starting. It's a consultant. But what he's doing is he's building a consortium or a group of former rugby players that are now business executives. You can walk right through it on the website, and it's a place where people can get online and they can talk and collaborate and brainstorm on how to build out their own local geographic community. I would encourage you all just to get comfortable with the plan, but also go and look through the executive side of it, because along with it are going to be a lot of different thought leadership opportunities with speakers at different test matches that they'll have a seminar the day before, and then the test match will occur on that Saturday. So.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you to New Jersey Rugby. Thank you to the Feury family, Terry Matthews, Mr. Payne, Tess, and all of you folks for coming out here. Final words, Dan?
Yeah, I think this year is the year of the Women's World Cup. Right? That's our big event. So if you need an excuse to get to Ireland, if you can't get to Ireland, get yourself ready to have your watch parties in August, and that's what we're aiming towards. That's our big event for 2017. Shoot, you know what? 2018 has a big event too. If you want to get a picture with the Melrose Cup, which is right here, if you come down and get a picture with it, 2018 Rugby World Cup is going to be in San Francisco for the men and the women at AT&T Park.
Somebody take a photo, photos, yeah.
Thank you, Rugby New Jersey. Thank you very much. It's good stuff.
So long, everybody. University of Buffalo. Go Bulls.